A few days ago, I was on Wes's show over at Thinking Critical talking about Dean Cain and this little feud that popped up between him and Tom King. And then it seemed to pop up between a bunch of creators. Scott Snyder took some jabs at him and others as well. And I find I want to go into this topic just a little bit more because I don't see the point. Not be going into the topic. Maybe there's no point to that too. But let's talk about it for a second. Hey, everybody, this is Perch. I get that my opinion on this is not going to match other people, maybe most other people. I don't know. But I'm struggling with one aspect of this. So first, in case you didn't see it, so Dean Cain, who played Superman back in the Terry Hatcher, Lois and Clark, I don't remember the name of that show. But anyway, the Superman show that Dean Cain was on with Terry Hatcher clearly had a powerful impact to me since I don't even remember what the name of the show was. But he's over the last several years been a frequent guest on Fox News, and he's a conservative, and he's made comments along the lines of like Hollywood is kind of not excommunicated him, but I mean, he doesn't have a role there, and he's been part of the people who have gone on interviews to say that Hollywood doesn't hire conservatives, and so he's Asian American, and so first off, here's where you may be jumping at the bit to start commenting, and it's whether or not you believe that Hollywood is being unfair to him or not. You want to make that case or you don't want to make that case. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but I think that aspect is kind of irrelevant to everything I'm about to go into. So anyway, he's on Fox News and he makes a comment kind of, it seemed out of nowhere, like Superman can't say truth, justice, and the American way. And it's definitely kind of a more conservative talking point. Again, you either agree or disagree that that's true, that you can or can't say that. I mean, in reality, if Scott Snyder really wanted to write Superman saying truth, justice, and American way, I'll bet he could. I'll bet that he could write that in a comic and be published. I from everything I know at DC, I don't think the editorial would come in and be like, hey, you can't write that. Now, some people will disagree with that statement, but I'm pretty sure that what I just said is true. Now, Scott Snyder, for example, or Tom King, because he was the one who really kind of came in to all this, they may not want to write Superman saying that, or maybe they don't feel like that's how Superman should talk, or maybe it doesn't fit with the story they're writing, or who knows? There may be lots of reasons why Superman just doesn't say this. It's not like Avengers Assemble. It's Superman doesn't fly into action and say, for truth, justice, and the American way. This isn't like his rallying cry, but it is something that he said in the past. So, anyway, Dean Cain makes his comment and it kind of, goes for a while. And then Tom King weighs in on it and says, MFer, I just put this in a comic. And then a little feud breaks out. And the feud itself is super petty. No matter whose side you're on, if you're on, Team Tom King or you're on Team Dean Cain, or whether you're left or right or Republican or Democrat, I think most people, not all, but I think most people would look at that and go, in terms of feuds, this is pretty low rent feud. This is below like Elon Musk went crazy and said something, or Kanye West is doing some shenanigans. This is like a B or a C feud. If this was a comic book, this would be like that new Warriors relaunch where it's like, it gets some attention because it's good for clicks, but nobody really cares. In this, it's not a compelling feud, right? I mean, like, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like the Dean Cain, Tom King feud is like, I don't know. There's better things to watch on Netflix. I think that's where I come into it anyway. So this goes on, and then but it really boils down to, is Dean Cain. And so I did the video with Wes. We talked about this. There's a lot of little nuances story. Like, for example, Tom King said, I did put this in a comic, but he really didn't, because it's not Superman saying that. It's a soldier on the page that's saying that. Superman's just kind of flying off, and then weirdly, Tom King starts. Dean Cain kind of pokes at him for saying MFer, and then Tom King defends himself by saying he worked for the CIA. It's like the whole thing is like, ugh, for me. And this is kind of my point here is like, I don't know who this benefits. And this is the question I have. And keep in mind, social media, I guess, at the end of the day, it's for entertainment. It's not for business. It's not for getting things done. We've talked about that in the past. I think it can be. I think social media can be an amazing tool for kind of marketing comics and pushing things out and everything else. But the question that I get to is, who walks away from this stronger? Does Dean Cain walk away from this feud stronger? No. I think Dean Cain, by and large, he's whether you love Dean Cain to death or not, he's probably a C-level celebrity at this point. He's not on any active shows really. He's not in the entertainment picture anymore. The Superman days are long behind him. At the same time, Tom King, yes, he's written some comics. Scott Snyder's written some comics and everything else. These guys are not, Steven Spielberg, Kevin Feige. These are not the top of their game either. Now, in comics, sure, but the reach is small, and all things considered, does any of this really matter? So, if you're, and I say this both directions, by the way, if you're Tom King and you see this little clip of Dean Cain saying this, what benefits you in jumping in on this feud? And then if you're Scott Snyder or you're one of the other writers, what benefits you by doing this? Is it just that you want some entertainment on Twitter and so you're just saying some stuff? I mean, okay, cool. But so it's kind of time killing. And then the other direction as well, to be fair, Dean Cain, after Tom King kind of, call him an, MFer and other things, Dean Cain replying like, why bother? What good does this do you to get into a feud with Tom King? What good does it do Tom King to get into a feud with you? Are any comic books being sold or promoted through this whole process? Now, some have pointed out, it's like, hey, the creators are people and they get to say whatever they want and they should be able to blow off steam or do anything and fine. And it's not all about just selling books and numbers. These people have personal lives just like everybody has a personal life. It's true. I agreed. But does any of this make anyone look better? Like, here's the part I'm struggling with. Who is like watching this whole thing going down and be like, oh, right, yes, I love Dean Cain even more now. Or, yeah, good for Tom King for punking on Dean Cain. Does any of that occur? Or is it just feels like two grown men just kind of peeing on each other? That's how it comes across to me. It doesn't come across as useful for comics, for the culture, for anything. And if you are a left-leaning person and you think Dean Cain is a jackass and all the rest, why give him the time of day? Like you could make an argument that in the comics community right now, Tom King and Scott Snyder are far, far well known, more than Dean Cain. I mean, how many comics readers are watching this segment kind of on an off time slot of Fox News anyway? I mean, very few. Are there enough to even care about what's going on here? Like who cares? What does this help? What does this help? And I think in many cases, the only result to all this, for all people concerned, the comic writers or Dean Cain, is that it actually makes everybody look less. Everybody looks smaller. Like it doesn't. Nobody gets elevated by this. Everybody just looks kind of like they're punching down. To what? I mean, the people who hate Dean Cain are going to look at this and be like, oh, yeah, good for you. You stick it to Dean Cain. I hate that guy. But how many of those people are there? Like, who's thinking about Dean Cain? And in the other direction, like, Tom King writes comics. If Tom King disappeared for 5 years, there wouldn't be any Tom King comics. Would the world look much different? And I'm not suggesting that he vanish or anybody vanishes. None of this matters. And so to watch, and a lot of people in the comics, a lot of other creators, all jumped in on this. They're like, you tell them, Tom or Scott, you tell that Dean Cain. And it's like, who cares? And what was solved? Did this change harassment inside of the comic industry? Did we get a better comic out of it? Is there a new tie-in coming? Did somebody get a great idea? Did any of its, is this helping with sales? Is this helping with distribution? Is it helping comic stores stay open? Is it helping new books get created? Is it finding new creators who can come in and draw and write things? Is any of this helping anything? I guess I get how it helps Dean Cain, because Dean Cain got his name out in the news, and he got tied back into comics again, where most people had forgotten that he was connected to it, and he'll get another paid gig on Fox soon. So I mean, I get how Dean Cain benefits from some of this, but why who cares? Why who felt the need, like, I watched this clip and you talk about Superman, and now I'm going to get in a multi-tweet thread, and then my other buddies in the comic industry are going to comment on it. Like, what have you solved? For a lot of people, both readers and retailers and others who are looking at this whole situation, most of us are going, what are you doing? Like, you got more important things to worry about. Like, who cares about this? Who cares? And please, I know some people in the comments are going to come in, they're going to talk about the liberals are terrible, or the conservatives, Dean Cain is an instigator. I did the thing on Wes's show, and some guys are like, you're playing to the alt-right fan base. It's like, no, there's no alt-right or left fan base in this video. My point is, this is all stupid. Like, all of this is a giant, colossal waste of time. And my question is, for the people who are actively participating in it, why are you wasting your time? Because you are wasting your time. That's how it feels to me anyway. I don't know. I may be crazy, but I just don't get it. I'm getting... I guess I'll sum it up this way. I had this in a thread with another guy who said it much better than I did. If the goal here is to get internet clout, who wants this clout? Like, who wants dunking on Dean Cain clout? Or vice versa, who wants dunking on Tom King clout? I don't think that's good clout for anyone. It's pointless clout. And to me, it always feels like laziness. I know this is not the right way exactly to look at it, but to me, it's like, the best clout that you could get is to create an amazing, memorable comic or show or a moment or whatever it happens to be that people remember like 20 years from now. Like, Chris Claremont has tons of clout from the Dark Phoenix saga in the 70s. He still got it. That clout still exists today. I would shoot for that kind of clout. I would put in and granted, it's harder work, but I would put in the harder work to get that clout, as opposed to, temporary, what I would call junk food clout. It's like going to Jack in the Box. You can do that, or Taco Bell's a better example. You go to Taco Bell and you could temporarily eat something that satisfies your hunger. But 2 hours later, when you've got massive diarrhea, you're disappointed by that. And that's what it feels like. That's what this feud with Dean Cain, Tom King, that's what this whole thing feels like. It feels like Taco Bell. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. What do you think? Does this, somebody help me find the point in all this? Just the point. I think there's some smart people involved in all this. Why, maybe one of you could message me separately. Why did you bother? Like, just to make a fun joke? Oh, okay. I mean, cool. Again, social media, it's your own thing. You can do whatever you want with it. You can pass the time however you want. Just, did you feel like, I want to interview Tom King or Scott Snyder or Dean Cain? I'd love to interview any of them like a week from now and go, all right, do you feel better now? Did you get something out of this? Like, or what? Or are you just kind of killing time until the sun eventually explodes and burns us all up? Okay. Time of COVID. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of all this. I'm missing something clearly. I know I am. So please let me know what I'm missing here, because I just don't get the point. Like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter or Facebook at Comic Perch, and thanks for listening.